Steve McQueen had a reputation that followed him everywhere. On movie sets, in interviews, at racing tracks, and especially inside his personal relationships, people whispered about the same thing: he hated losing control. By the early 1970s, he was already one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, the king of cool, the rebel every man wanted to be and every studio wanted to hire. But behind that image was a man constantly battling jealousy, insecurity, and anger. And no relationship exposed those flaws more painfully than his marriage to Ali MacGraw. When Steve first met Ali, the chemistry between them exploded instantly. They were filming The Getaway, and from the outside they looked like the perfect Hollywood couple. Steve had the rugged toughness audiences adored, while Ali carried elegance and mystery that made her one of the most desired actresses of the era. Their romance became front-page news almost overnight. But what people didn't realize was how dangerous their connection could become once the cameras stopped rolling. Ali MacGraw was already famous before Steve entered her life. Her performance in Love Story had turned her into a massive star, and she was admired everywhere she went. Steve liked powerful women, but at the same time, he struggled with them. He wanted admiration, loyalty, and complete attention. Friends close to the couple later described their relationship as intense from the very beginning. There were passionate highs, but there were also frightening arguments that happened behind closed doors. Steve's childhood had shaped him in brutal ways. He grew up around violence, instability, and emotional neglect. By the time he became famous, he had learned to protect himself by controlling everything around him. Hollywood only made that worse. He trusted very few people, and when he felt threatened emotionally, his temper could erupt without warning. As Ali's fame continued growing, Steve reportedly became deeply possessive. He didn't like the attention she received from other men, and he especially hated the idea of her career becoming bigger than his. Witnesses from that era often described Steve as charming in public but explosive in private. One moment he could be affectionate and magnetic, and the next he could become cold, jealous, and intimidating. Stories about their fights slowly began leaking into Hollywood circles. Some were dismissed as gossip, but others became impossible to ignore. Friends claimed that arguments between them could turn physical. One story that circulated for years involved Steve allegedly slapping Ali during a heated confrontation. The details were never fully confirmed publicly by both sides, but the rumor became part of the dark mythology surrounding their marriage. What made the situation even more disturbing was how hidden it remained for so long. In the 1970s, Hollywood protected male stars differently than it does today. Behavior that would spark massive scandals now was often buried, ignored, or excused back then. Steve McQueen's image as the untouchable anti-hero remained largely intact while Ali quietly carried the emotional weight of the relationship. People close to Ali later hinted that she often appeared emotionally exhausted. Despite the glamorous lifestyle, expensive homes, and public admiration, their marriage was filled with tension. Steve reportedly demanded loyalty in ways that isolated her from parts of her own career and personal life. He feared betrayal constantly, even when there was little reason for it, and yet, the strangest part of their story is that Ali still loved him deeply. Many who knew the couple said their connection was real, powerful, and almost impossible for either of them to escape. That's what made the relationship so tragic. It wasn't simply hatred or cruelty. It was two people trapped in a storm of obsession, fame, insecurity, and emotional damage. Steve himself was never entirely at peace. Behind the sunglasses and confident swagger was a man terrified of abandonment. The more successful he became, the more he seemed to fear losing control of the people closest to him. That fear often transformed into anger. And anger, when mixed with fame and power, can become dangerous. By the late 1970s, the marriage was collapsing under its own weight. The passion that once made them Hollywood's hottest couple had turned toxic. Ali eventually walked away, and their relationship ended with emotional scars that never completely disappeared. Years later, when people looked back on Steve McQueen's life, they saw more than just the motorcycles, race cars, and legendary movie roles. They saw a complicated man whose private demons often destroyed the happiness he was searching for. Even today, the rumors about Steve and Ali continue to fascinate people because they reveal the difference between celebrity image and reality. On screen, Steve McQueen looked fearless, cool, and untouchable. But off-screen, he was deeply flawed, insecure, and sometimes consumed by rage. The alleged slap became symbolic of something much larger, the collapse of a fantasy Hollywood once sold to the world. In public photographs, Steve and Ali looked perfect together. Beautiful, stylish, powerful. But pictures never show what happens after the cameras stop flashing. They never show the arguments, the jealousy, the tears, or the silence that fills a room after trust begins to break apart. And that may be the real story of Steve McQueen and Ali MacGraw. Not simply a shocking rumor about violence, but a painful reminder that fame cannot heal emotional wounds. Sometimes it only hides them better.